welcome to this carrier update brought to you by Powerfleet. I'm here with Tony Mulvey. I think this is the first carrier update you've had.
It is. Thanks, Anthony.
We're excited to have you on. What do we have here?
So we've got our outbound tender volume index on the national level. So we're seeing still that volume growth, right? That's kind of the key to pick up from here. We see this blue line. We've got 2022 numbers now since we've crossed over. Look at that gap between 2022 and 2021. It's just wide, right? It's like 9% right now. So we're seeing that growth, and really there's no signs of it slowing down. So, I mean, you look at where we were back in September all the way through, right? We had that, we've kind of maintained, we were up a little, down a little, but now we've kind of seen that spread blow out. And really we're back above, right, pretty close to where we were at peak season, right? So, I mean, it's peak season volumes, and it's crazy. I mean, you think January might see a lull in freight volumes,
right?
And it's just not happening. So
yeah, I know one of the big things that we were talking about, or last week I would say, because we're looking at the Logistics Managers Index, one of the interesting things that we saw was that inventories actually increased in December. And it was like, this is unheard of, this is not seasonal. This kind of falls right in line as we're still seeing volumes increase a little bit more than what we would expect this time of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, that's good to, I mean, inventory level, I mean, you hear it from retailers. When they started reporting Q3 earnings, they started reporting those increased inventories. Well, Prologis last week reported earnings and said that space is 99% sold out. I mean, like there's no warehousing space. And it's even bigger on the West Coast. I mean, you see the impacts on the West Coast, right? So that freight has to go somewhere, and that's probably part of that reason we're seeing this uptick. I mean, the week over week change, right, is pretty drastic, but you think we had MLK Day last week. We saw that decline that goes with it each year. And we've come back stronger than we were going into MLK. So we are seeing that growth in volumes. And what's really interesting, if we come up to our next chart, we'll have the rejections here. They're still at 21.4%. I mean, or 20.14%. So, I mean, that's still crazy. When you look back, we've been above 20% outside of a couple dips throughout the year. I mean, we're just 140 basis points below where we were a year ago. I mean, it's, you think about the contract rate increases. I looked at it this morning. They're up 22.5%.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it, right? When you're looking at the incremental increases now with where rates are, it really tells a bigger picture or more of a drastic change in each incremental increase because rates are so high. Yeah,
so I mean, you think about rates going up that high, from top over there in March to now, it's about a 700 basis point decline. What happens when we try to get those from 20 to 15, right? And that's the goal for shippers, right? But it's obviously, the rates aren't there yet. I mean, you look at spot rates are close to all-time highs. Contract rates are at all-time highs, but every carrier that's reported earnings this week's like, there's still going to be those rate increases throughout the next year. So I wrote a blog on the Sonar blog this week that kind of touched on that. That was like, is it justified that they're calling for these rate increases? And I think if you look at those two volume levels and then this, you kind of see, okay, I mean, the backdrop's there to see those rate increases, at least here in the near to medium term. So
got you. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it makes sense. And one of the questions I had, I know I was chatting with Zach yesterday, was when you're looking at this rate increase environment, that everything's just really inflated, you're seeing a lot of inefficiencies. You're seeing backhaul lanes that really wouldn't get really a lot of attention, now getting a lot of attention. You're seeing really a lot of inefficiencies. Does this worry you at all as we move throughout the year, as you know, maybe these rates are really causing us to chase lanes that we really wouldn't do typically, and now this inefficiency is growing?
I think a little. I mean, it's such a fragile market at the moment. I mean, look again, back to last year, we had the winter storm that hampered Texas and really the whole country. I mean, if that happens again, we're facing that same instance. So I mean, you're gonna have, it's almost like right now they're all chasing those rates, generating record revenues in most cases. And it's like, what happens if everything does hit the brakes? the down, when the down starts to happen, how
Yeah.
fast does it happen and what really causes it? And it does worry me a little.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because we've had, 18 months at this inflated level. So there is some worry there, but not enough yet to scare me. How's that?
I think that's the trickiest part, is calling the depth or the shift in momentum and how far it will actually go. So Tony,
for sure.
thanks so much for this carrot update. We'll be sure to check in with you a few more times today. We're going to toss it back over to Kaylee Nix.